Okay, salute, salute, salute. I'm gonna try to do this video real quick because I only got a little bit of life left in my phone. It's probably gonna die. But I'm hearing crazy stuff, man. Claressa Shields can't be on the pound for pound because she's a female and it's a separate list for females and men. Crazy talk, man. First of all, pound for pound, the whole conversation is just a fantasy conversation. It's a fantasy island. And if you're talking about my fantasy, I'm not going to sit here arguing about a bunch of dudes. Fantasy, if it's going to be a fantasy list for me, it's going to be Jessica McCatskill. It's going to be Cecilia Brakes. It's going to be Christina Hammer. It's going to be Amanda Serrano. You know what I'm saying? At the top of my list, going to be Havana Gabriels. And at number one on my fantasy list is going to be the GOAT, Claressa Shields. What is y'all talking about? But okay, when you talk about pound for pound, I break it down how I look at it because it's fantasy. And fantasy means you don't have to have logic and you don't have to have common sense. It's just a fantasy. It's opinionated. It's subjective because, you know, I put it like this. It's a compensation argument for the fact that the little dudes can't do what the heavyweights have always been able to do. Heavyweight was the division that ran boxing. You want to be the biggest, baddest man in the land. You know what I'm saying? Mike Tyson and Muhammad Ali and Sonny Liston and big, you know what I'm saying? Jack Johnson and, you know what I'm saying? Rocky Marciano, George Foreman. You want to be the big boys. You know what I mean? So the little dudes can't do what the big dudes do. So whenever era you're talking about, like today's era, the biggest, baddest man is big 6'9", the Gypsy King Tyson Fury. And you look at pound for pound, I look at it as on a scale. On one side, on this side of the scale, you got the heavyweight Tyson Fury. On this side of the scale, you throw in any of the other little dudes, and they have to do everything they can do in order to get more weight on their side to try to balance the scale to be pound for pound. So they got to do everything. It's also, it can be going undefeated. It can be moving up multiple weight classes. It can be accomplishments and getting more belts and becoming undisputed. It can be whatever they can do to make themselves bigger and better and greater to make it even out the scale. That's why the heavyweights is not on the pound for pound list. And the exception for that would be when you get into Vander Holyfield, go up to heavyweight. When you get Alexander Usyk, go up to heavyweight. That's why, exceptionally, I put him on this pound for pound list of 2022. You know what I'm saying? It's arguable number one or number two, but you can put him at number two and then put Terrence Bud Crawford at number one. You know what I'm saying? But the little men can't do what the big man do. You can take Terrence Bud Crawford and he's not going to knock out Dillian White. He's not going to knock out Tyson Fury. So the whole argument of, well, if we was to make them the same weight class, well, that's a fantasy. That's impossible. You can't take none of these little dudes and be like Tom Hanks and go in front of Zortan and then make a wish and make them big. They little, they gonna be little. So they can move up different weight classes and make more accomplishments to try to balance out the scale of being able to try to compensate because they can't go and beat the heavyweights. The greatest little man can't go beat, you know what I'm saying, the lowest level big man almost. You got your little exceptions with Roy Jones Jr. trying to go up there to fight John Ruiz back in the day. You dig what I'm saying? So you going to talk about fantasy? And you going to say that Claressa Shields can't be on this fantasy list because she a woman? If you're going to break it down into segregations like that, you might as well have a black pound for pound list and a white pound for pound list and a Mexican pound for pound list. You know what I'm saying? It's ridiculous to even have a conversation and go back and forth and debate about this. You dig what I'm saying? It is what it is. If you want to have a little bit of common sense to it, give Terrence Bud Crawford pound for pound. Because he moved up multiple weight classes. He got championships. He got some heavy weight behind him. He got some iron behind him. And I say Alexander could be number two. Whoop-de-doo. You know what I'm saying? Number three, it can be Canelo. He done fell off a few notches. All right? Number four, arguable, What's the little dude named Monster anyway? He always in the name. He always in the mix with the little guy. I don't watch him too much, but he always up in there. And then number 5, Jamel Charlo then came up. I can put Jamel Charlo, in my opinion, or my fantasy, opinionated, subjective conversation. I could put Jamel Charlo above Monster anyway, especially off of his just accomplishing, come up. Because you say, oh, because he got defeats, he can't be on the pound for pound. Well, I like the fact that he lost and came back and beat Tony Harrison. I like the fact that he drawed with Brian Castano and came back and made adjustments and became even greater. Now he moved up on the pound for pound list. Earl Spence right now is not above Jamel Charlo on the pound for pound list. That's common sense, but it's fantasy. And in my fantasy, like I said, Claressa Shields, T-Rex, the GWOAT, with her accomplishments, that's like saying, if you can't say Monster Anyway can't fight, nobody would ever sanction Monster Anyway or Terrence Bud Crawford to fight Tyson Fury. It'll never happen. Well, you can't say what if Claressa Shields was a dude, and then change the whole conversation, because it's a fantasy and you can't make none of this stuff happen. So Claressa Shields, pound for pound, right now, her accomplishments, she belongs in the conversation. If you want to have her wherever you want to have her, you can do whatever the fuck you want to do on your pound for pound list. If she want to be with the boys and you want to put her top 5, bow, 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 I'm gone. Salute.